As we woke up this morning, the Champions League bracket was drawn. Who will our American stars be facing in the next round? Miguel Almiron returns to Atlanta United after 6 years in the Premier League. And what are American soccer supporters groups talking about heading into the 2025 season? That and much more here on Friday's Morning Kickaround.
Let's go!
Hello, and welcome to the show. This is Morning Kickaround, where we cover the world's favorite game from the world's favoritist country. How's it going? Coming to you live each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning. I'm Robert Kerr. He's Jason Davis. Hope you're well. Thoughts and prayers to everyone out there with the madness going on in the world. Jason, how are you? It is Friday, but there's other things going on too, right?
Wow, Robert, I don't know how to handle anything you just threw at me right there because it went high and then it went low and now we're back to trying to be high again. Happy Friday, as you said. Happy Friday. Let's push aside everything else happening in the world and just focus on what we've got here, which is our beautiful game, which is delivering us so many different things to talk about on a Friday. I'm ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I know. Yeah, sorry. Up and down all across the map. You said in the lead up that you were all over the place, and everything is all over the place. There's beautiful, there's ugly, side by side, but we will get into our soccer conversations. Before that, though, I want to remind you, if you haven't hit the subscribe button for the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel, go ahead and do so. Now, we are on the march to 1,000 subscribers at the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel. You can be the next one and tell your friends, and we'll smash that 1,000 subscriber mark. Contact the show, follow along on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky. Write us an email. Be like Nate. Write us at morningkickaround@gmail.com. And we now have a Ko-Fi page. Support us. If you're able, you can do a one-time buy us a coffee, $5 or something like that, or throw something more significant or scheduled, like maybe a monthly coffee here and there. Anything helps us get the ball moving and growing and working towards becoming a center of the American soccer conversation. All right, let's move into our headlines for Friday. Let's kick our long balls here on Morning Kickaround.
Let's do it.
Long ball number one here for Friday, the final day of January 2025. As we woke up through bleary eyes, the Champions League draw happened, and there was some big draws, notably Real Madrid taking on Manchester City. But let's hammer down a little bit on where and who the American stars are going to be taking on. Plenty of Americans involved in the Champions League this year. We got Americans on AC Milan, Juventus, Celtic, Dortmund. Who are they going to be taking on there, Jason?
Yeah, this is obviously a new format, right? We're all adjusting to the way the Champions League works now. First of all, let me ask you, Rob, do you like it? Did you like it? Do you feel good about it? Was it fun for you? Those are important questions to ask, right?
The draw or the format, did you ask?
The format, the way this Champions League worked this time, because it's not the usual way.
So yeah, definitely the first year for this format. In the first 2 or 3 match weeks, I wasn't really sure what to make of it because we didn't know what the stakes were. Like, can you lose 2 or 3 games and still make it through? Just how important was every single match day? But having the 18 games all at once on one day was pretty awesome. I'll admit.
You liked it?
It was pretty. You didn't like it?
So much. It was so much.
What was the word you used? Because it was a gluttony of goals. Not only was there a ton of games, but there was a ton of goals in all of those games. Just about. Yeah. What was the word you used for gluttony of goals? What was the word you used for it on Wednesday?
We somebody on Blue Sky suggested footinalia, as in like a bacchanalia, and that's where I went. And then I'm a cultured guy, or I like to think of myself as a cultured guy. So bacchanalia has some ancient Rome connotations and involves wine and frolicking. I'm going to say that. I'm going to be family friendly and say frolicking is part of that. So it's like it's an explosion. It's a lot of something. It's too much maybe. So I don't know. I'm still caught between I like the entertainment value. I don't think this particular edition delivered as much drama as I wanted. I saw Miguel Delaney, noted football writer, say as much. There wasn't a lot of drama here. It was besides Manchester City needing to beat Brugge. We didn't really have a lot of win and you're in, lose and you're out kind of stuff happening. It actually happened more in the Europa League yesterday, but I don't think we have time to break that down. Okay, as for the draw, in the playoff round, this is the knockout playoff. These matchups will deliver teams to the round of 16, where 8 teams have already qualified. Obviously, those are the top 8 teams in the tournament. And as you mentioned, we've got American interests involved here, right?
Many interests.
We can say that Brest and PSG, all French matchup. Okay, whatever. No Americans involved there. Kind of disappointed it's an all French matchup, and I feel bad for Brest because they've been a surprise in this tournament. They did lose their last two matches in the league phase, which hurt them a lot in terms of their standing. So they get a powerhouse who struggled themselves in the league phase in PSG. Brugge and Atalanta. I'm a fan of Atalanta. I'm a fan of Giampiero Gasparini. I like what they're doing there. It's so much fun, that story of Atalanta, but obviously no Americans there. Interesting matchup. Manchester City, Real Madrid, that's the headline, right? That's the pullout. That's, oh my gosh, that's the one we get in the knockout playoff is Real Madrid and Manchester City. I cannot believe that they're facing off at this stage. Obviously, Madrid wins this thing a lot. City's going through this, what do you call this?
Very weird slump of all slumps.
It's like if Manchester City woke up in somebody else's body. Isn't it kind of like that? It's like a body switching kind of vibe right now for Manchester City.
Are they getting space jammed? Are there aliens taking their mojo and all of a sudden there's like some random alien team that's like sick at soccer that's going to come out next year?
Could be. I do think a soccer version of Space Jam makes a lot of sense. Juventus and PSV Eindhoven. Now this could have been Americans versus, we could have had as many as 4 Americans involved in this matchup, and yet we have been robbed. And we will get to why we've been robbed of 4 Americans in this matchup later in the show when we talk about Ricardo Pepi.
Are we down to 1 American in that one?
No, I believe 2. I believe Tim Weah is available for you.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a matter of whether he plays, of course. But Weston McKennie, who captained Juventus,
that's wild.
Their final match of the league phase. Now, they lost. It wasn't a great performance. He was playing left back for reasons I don't fathom. Why? So how he's played every outfield position except for every outfield position. He has played every position except for goalkeeper, I think is what we're at with Weston McKennie.
Honestly, I do think that we could be maybe not right wing, but he's played multiple midfield positions. He's played fullback positions. I'm sure at some point, at least like momentarily, he's filled that in at center back. But he's been asked to do a heck of a lot. And the fact that like he didn't have a parking space at preseason and then now he's wearing the armband is quite the come up and a story of its own right.
And look, we I think a lot of us are jaded at this point or cynical or we're just over this whole like we're constantly talking about the firsts because it makes you feel a little less than when you're like, oh, an American for the first time ever has, done this thing in Europe. And so I don't know that a lot of people are really making a big deal out of it, but we probably should, right? We probably should make a big deal that Weston McKennie, an American kid from Texas, captained one of the most famous soccer clubs in the world in the biggest soccer competition in the world. That's a thing. Whether it, you can find ways to diminish it if you want, but I still think that's a big deal. Obviously, again, PSV. Ricardo Pepi injured after scoring against Liverpool on the final day. That's disappointing. And Malik Tillman was already injured. Now, it's possible that Tillman could be back. I have to check on his prognosis, his status, Rob, but it's still disappointing that we might not get all 4 of them on the field together. Monaco Benfica, no, there is an American potentially involved there, except he's gone missing, and that's Falarin Balogun. And obviously with now Ricardo Pepi picking up his injury, this is going to make things very difficult for Mauricio Pochettino going into March with his Nations League campaign underway. Very, very disappointing. So could Balogun play a role in this matchup against Benfica? sure, I think it's possible, but there's nothing right now that indicates he's going to be ready to go at a high level when Monaco and Benfica face off. Sporting Lisbon gets Dortmund. Man, how much time we got? Do we really have time to dive into the Gio Reyna saga at Borussia Dortmund again? Because I feel like this is all we do is talk about Gio and whether he's going to play. Incredible back heel assist on the final match day. Dortmund in transition. They just hired Niko Kovac. We don't know what that means for Gio yet. Hope it means he gets a chance at least to prove himself. He still seems to be second choice to Julian Brandt at every turn. He gets minutes late in games. He does magical things, and then he goes back to the bench. Rob, I don't know what you think about this, but obviously this is a decent draw for Dortmund. Like they can certainly beat Sporting and make their way into the round of 16.
I'm trying to think of my memory of Niko Kovac, the new Dortmund manager. Was he the manager that had the flame out stint at Bayern, or was he the one that was at Schalke in their last days?
He was at Bayern Munich back in 2018, 2019. So he had a stint there. He just didn't stick in terms of his managerial career at Bayern Munich.
So hopefully that's a good thing for Gio, and he can get more playing time. I had an email exchange with Nate where he was really, really excited about the assist, the back heel. It was very fun, but I replied to him, I just want to see more of it. It's like he's capable of so many exciting moments that we just pray that we get to see that like on a week in, week out basis, just at least for some sort of an extended period of time. But so going down the list, if they get through these rounds, so McKennie and company would, if they get past PSV, they would take on Arsenal, Inter. Celtic take on Bayern. I'm not holding out much hope for them there, but they'll take on Atletico Leverkusen.
Let's pause there because we haven't gotten through all of this with the Americans. So let's make sure we're complete here. Celtic obviously has two Americans at center back. Tough challenge going up against Bayern Munich and Harry Kane and Musiala and Olise and the whole crew, right? The whole crew that they got going over there at Bayern Munich. But I do think I like that there's going to be a challenge. Now, will it be difficult for Vickers and Trusty? Clearly. Carter Vickers, excuse me. Clearly. But I guess, look, it's a big deal Celtic made it this far. So you're going to get a big club or you're going to get a tough challenge. You would prefer not to have Bayern Munich. I think you'd rather have, name any team except for Manchester City, Real Madrid probably in this group than have Bayern Munich. But still, I think that's cool. Bayern Munich, by the way, since Canada kind of like our little brothers. You're very close to Canada. Let's give some love to Canada. Alphonso Davies and Bayern Munich. That's their draw. Alphonso isn't American, but kind of wish he was. Feyenoord and AC Milan. Obviously, AC Milan has two Americans. One of them got sent off against Dinamo Zagreb and really hurt his team. And Yunus Musa. I don't know what that means for his potential. I mean, he won't be eligible to play in the first leg of this tie, so he won't even see him then. Pulisic scored in that game against Zagreb. I think, I kind of just trust that at this point he's going to be fine. He's going to continue to score goals when needed. There's no reason to doubt him at this point, right?
No, I don't think so. But I think that you made a good point that we should note that this is a two-legged round, and that the first one will be in 2 weeks, and then the second round in 3 weeks from there.
Let me also throw in this note, because this is transfer season. We are a couple of days, or I guess the window is closing very, very shortly. In fact, the update is that Santiago Jimenez, the Feyenoord striker, the Mexican striker who plays at Feyenoord, will be joining Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa at AC Milan before this window closes. They are apparently very close to a deal. So that's the thing that could change between this draw happening now and the games happening in a couple weeks, is that Feyenoord could be down one of their best players who is joining the team they have drawn in the Champions League. I just think that's pretty fascinating, if you ask me.
Yeah, no doubt. We shall see how this plays out. Like I said, in 2 weeks, the Champions League sparks up again. Long ball number 2 here for Friday. It is the 31st of January, so it's a transfer deadline day. We might see some more headline grabbing moves, but here stateside, one of Major League Soccer's major stars is returning after 6 years away. It was confirmed Miguel Almiron returns to Atlanta United 6 years later after being at Newcastle, where he's now 30 years old. He transfers for $10 million fee, $400K in GAM, go to Charlotte for some sort of rights for Discovery, and he comes back with Premier League, Champions League experience, 30 goals, 12 assists in 223 appearances in all competitions.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, there's certainly it feels a little dangerous, a little risky for Atlanta.
From Atlanta, you mean?
Yeah, just because it is, you're asking Almiron to come back and be what he used to be, or some version of that. Now,
he can only diminish his sparkling reputation there too. I mean, he's trying to live up. He is. They probably built a statue for him there, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, I don't think there's anything he can do that's going to take away what he did in 2018 for Atlanta United or 2019 for Atlanta United. They're still going to. Which year was it? 18 or 19? Somebody remind me. My brain doesn't work anymore. But, he's still going to be a hero to Atlanta United fans for the memories that he created for them, playing with Joseph Martinez, playing under Tata Martino, winning an MLS Cup, et cetera, et cetera. But they're spending money. This is $10 million going out the door on Miguel Almiron. Now, again, I will always come back to this. If you're an Atlanta United fan, you are in the best possible hands when it comes to the building of your roster. You've got an absolute legend of an executive in Garth Lagerwey as your president, and you have the guy he built Seattle with, who also helped turn Inter Miami into the best regular season team in MLS history, in Chris Henderson. So you kind of just go, all right, if they think this is a good idea, then it must be a good idea. Let's just roll with it, right? I think that's kind of how you have to think about this. And you can also throw in that they are about to break the MLS incoming transfer record by signing Ivorian striker Emmanuel Latelath, which I think there's going to be something like $20-something million, $22 million plus add-ons. I mean, again,
that's going to happen. That's on its way.
It's on its way. It's on its way. Finalized details are being finalized. There was a moment where it looked like it was not going to happen, but now I think it's back on. Tom Bogert's reporting it. There's other people also out there who have good information that this is going to happen. So this is the Middlesbrough striker that Atlanta wants to get their hands on. And it's sort of two things, right? It's a veteran. It's a guy that has performed big in Major League Soccer in the past, who helped you win an MLS Cup in Miguel Almiron. He's going to be a leader in this team. He'll be a figure of focus for the fans. And then you've got Latelath, who is 26, has already scored a bunch of goals at a high level, 29 goals, 67 appearances for Middlesbrough since arriving there. That's a pretty good return. And if he can, I mean, Major League Soccer, again, let's not get into comparing it to the championship necessarily, but if you transfer those numbers over, they transfer very favorably for Atlanta United. So you get a 26-year-old goal scorer in the prime of his career. You get a 30-year-old veteran who can still has wheels and can certainly understand Major League Soccer. And I think, again, if you're an Atlanta United fan, you are so ramped up, so hyped for this season. It feels like a big moment for Atlanta United.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from some Atlanta United fans in the chat. Like, where is your excitement level? I imagine just with the big turnover, with how the last year ended, I'm sure you'd be excited anyway with the front office acquisitions, with all the roster turnover, and then, one of your, all-time stars comes back. I'm curious to hear a firsthand account from an Atlanta United fan. But so with the risk involved in this, do you think that these fans of Atlanta United just kind of have to wear their in Garth We Trust t-shirts and just like, this guy, he knows what he's doing. He's maybe, 10 million in the MLS ecosystem is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, that's got to be in the top 10 all time, top 5, top 10 transfer fees.
The $10 million for Almiron?
Yeah, that's
not anymore. Yeah, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, sure. They're about to break the record with Latte Lath. He's 22 million plus add-ons, and they are breaking the record that Cincinnati just set was 16 million for Kevin Denke. So we're climbing very rapidly up this thing. And again, I know we're impatient people as Americans and as soccer fans and as fans of these clubs. We're impatient people. We want these teams to go faster. We want the league to go faster. Take off the handcuffs and let these teams go spend the way they want to spend and let them be aggressive and all those things. And would Atlanta be doing more if there were no handcuffs at all from Major League Soccer? Maybe, but they're still laying down $30+ million on a couple of players to try to win right now in Atlanta. There's no stronger statement of ambition than that has ever been made in MLS. I mean, maybe you could argue about Toronto and the way that they've spent in the past. And obviously their two Italians have not come good, so we judge them in retrospect. But this is still incredibly aggressive from Atlanta. And if you got in your American soccer time machine and you went back 10 years, 15 years, you told somebody, an MLS fan, hey, we're going to have players being bought by MLS teams for over $20 million. They'd go, nah, you're crazy. The league will never allow that to happen. That's never going to be a thing. That's not how MLS wants to grow. Even if they want it, they would be doubtful that the league would have the true ambition to be that kind of league. And here we are. Again, not everything's perfect, but it's such a step forward that it seems worth noting.
Another thing to consider, obviously, fans are going to want Almiron to live up to what he produced 6 years ago, but also for him, he might have this perception of how it was, and there's probably not very many people around still. I don't think there's any on-field, regular contributors that were there from 6 years ago anymore. And so, like returning to an old job, it may not be exactly the same experience as when you were
probably
there
not.
previously.
But he knows the place, he knows the town. The fans were there in the airport. I saw the pictures from last night. He arrived in Atlanta last night.
That's cool.
And there was a welcoming committee. There were a lot of Atlanta United fans who were excited to see Miggy again. So it could be a big moment for Atlanta United, for Miguel Almiron, who I think feels very comfortable in Atlanta playing soccer these days.
And Garth, they trust down there in Atlanta. Long ball number 3 here on Friday. There are some United States women's national teamers headed overseas to the English Women's Super League. Last week, Naomi Girma for a record-breaking $1.1 million to Chelsea. And within the last day or so, Jenna Neiswanger, the young center back for Gotham FC, transfers to Arsenal for around $100,000. But something that kind of got my eyebrows raised, Manchester United hierarchy have not been very, I don't know, flattering or very positive in their commentary towards the women's game. And another kind of comment that, a bristly comment about the women's game, this time from Man U boss Mark Skinner, commenting on Naomi Girma's record-breaking transfer. He said, "For us, it's fantastic for the women's game to see this investment, the growth and development in such a short period of time. But, big but here, but we may potentially see fallouts in how it affects everybody else."
But why, Mark? Why? Why is that necessary? Why not just say this is great for the game and leave it there? Why go negative on something? I mean, from his perspective, what this is we don't know if we can compete because our club's not giving us the same money that Chelsea and Arsenal are giving their women's teams to spend, right? That's what this is. This is pure jealousy. And it's not, that's the thing. Don't direct it at Chelsea for spending $1 million on Naomi Girma. Don't direct it at the clubs who are willing to be aggressive and are properly valuing the kind of talent that they can sign. Go and talk to your bosses. Go talk to Jim Ratcliffe, who famously said, I don't know if we can worry about the women's team right now because the men's team is such a mess. Shut up. Shut up already. This is bad. And this is somebody working in the women's game, and you can't just be positive about what this means for the growth of the game. I'm going to compare this to American football. Are you a college football guy, Rob? Are you much of a college footballman?
Yeah, to a degree.
A little bit of college football. You got a really big, massive college football program not too far from you, I imagine, in Ann Arbor, Michigan, right?
Yeah,
and they get very in their feelings about college football up there in Michigan, just like everybody else, right?
Well, with the Lions existing, that was the only ray of light for organized football in the area was Michigan. So a lot of people hanging their hat there, yes.
So Dabo Swinney. the football coach, right? Clemson coach, Dabo Swinney, did some big things there. Dabo Swinney, when NIL was on the verge of happening, I think it's before they actually changed the rules so that players could make money while in college.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "I will quit rather than deal with." He was so offended by the possibility of the players making money. You know why? Because it meant he wouldn't have that overlord position with the players. They wouldn't be so dependent on him anymore. He wouldn't be able to control their every move, every waking moment in order to get them to be a professional football player, which is what they all wanted, right? He was going to lose that power, and he was upset about it without recognizing, or maybe not even caring, that ultimately this is the fair and just thing, that it is better for the players to be able to get some income off of the images that the schools are using to make millions upon millions of dollars than to stand on some high horse and say, no, this is going to ruin the game. And I'm going to say the same thing about this particular quote and where we are in the women's game. Shut up. Just shut up already. Just be happy that someone's investing in the sport you work in rather than try to undercut this because maybe Manchester United, whose bosses do not properly value women's soccer, are not giving you the support you need.
Yeah, Naomi Gurma is brilliant, and this deal is great for the Women's Super League, but this kind of spending skews the market, said the boss of the team in second place in this. And
take it to the boardroom. Take it to a meeting with Ratcliffe or Ineos or whoever's in charge of the budget for the Manchester United women's team. Do not take it public and say it skews the market, because if it skews the market, it's a correction to a market that was undervaluing women's footballers.
No doubt. No doubt. In the aforementioned secondary move, not a record-breaking transfer fee, around $100,000 for Jenna Neiswanger from Gotham to Arsenal. And for those not familiar, she completed 2 seasons for Gotham, and she was in on the national team at the Olympics. She debuted in 23, played 16 games, scoring 2 goals and an assist for the national team. So 2 of the main American defenders, overseas now.
Yeah, I mean some. Yeah, look, Garma, Neiswanger, those are names. And I think we've touched on this already on the back of the Gurma transfer, right? But what I'm continuing seeing is that debate, the discussion about whether or not this is bad for the NWSL, whether it indicates a problem for the NWSL that players are leaving the league to go to, in this case, England, but to go to Europe, right? And I just don't think that's a nuanced enough view of what is happening. Yes, some big names are leaving. We've talked about the draw that Europe presents culturally, Champions League access, things like that. Wearing the Chelsea badge, right? When you're talking about all the teams in women's soccer in this country being new, not having, like, it's outside of maybe, I guess you could argue about the Portland Thorns having a legacy, having a history of something that kind of attracts players to the club. But lots of clubs are new. Lots of clubs don't have a legacy. They don't have an international profile. You don't get to say, like, you can't tell somebody on the street, oh, yeah, I played for, I don't know, I played for the Houston Dash, and them go, oh, my God, the Houston Dash?
Yeah, there's no three-generation North Carolina Courage fans.
Right. But Naomi Gurma is going to be able to say forever, I played for Chelsea Football Club, the famous Chelsea Football Club, right? That's a thing. Yeah. And I'm gonna quote here from Sandra Herrera, who writes over at CBSSports.com, covers women's soccer for that outlet, for Paramount, Golazo, that whole family of things. Here's one of her subheads on her story about Naomi Gurma and the transfer. And I'll read you the headline in a second because I think it matters. Why did Gurma spurn NWSL? Why did she spurn NWSL, Robert? And here is what Sandra Herrera wrote. Well, for starters, she didn't. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. Thank you, Sandra, for saying it. Don't be weird. Gurma's rise to prominence has been meteoric, and with such success early in her career, she seemed poised to become the next player to earn a headline transfer fee sooner rather than later. So, and again, let's not look at this through the lens of it's got to be a zero-sum game for NWSL. We lived through many, many years of slow growth with MLS. And every time something happened that seemed to undermine MLS or there was a question about American soccer, what I tried to come back to, I'm not saying I was perfect at it, but what I tried to come back to is the rising tide lifts all boats, right? And we're at a point with soccer in our country that can be a statement you can use to sort of talk about anything, right? In this case, it's women's football period globally is what's being affected by this rising tide. Not just American women's soccer or just not American, but everything. And if we want the women's game to continue to grow, you cannot do that in isolation just in America. It has to happen everywhere. And if right now Chelsea are the ones willing to spend $1 million on a defender, then we should be glad that that defender is American. Right? You should be happy that it's an American that they're going after, because if anything, that indicates that the talent pool in America is still incredibly strong and that we're going to see that growth continue. Again, Sandra writes, no, the NWSL isn't doomed. It's not doomed. By the way, Crystal Dunn also probably going to PSG. I think I just saw that yesterday. So we should throw that in there as transfer news. She left Gotham, mutual consent. I think a deal was getting worked out for her to maybe go to play in Seattle, and something fell through, and I don't know what went on there, but she's going to PSG. I believe her husband is French. So it kind of all ties together. The headline, read Sandra Herrera's piece at cbssports.com. Please, Naomi Gurma's transfer to Chelsea isn't a sign that NWSL is in trouble. It's a milestone in the game's growth, period. End of story. Let's move on.
All right. Thank you for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, click the subscribe button there at the Morning Kickaround YouTube channel. Help us on our way to 1,000 subscribers. We are on social media at mkickaround on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky platforms. Write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com. And if you can support us, please do so at our brand new Ko-Fi page, ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. We're going to come right back with our next segment. I'm going to talk hot topic here on Morning Kickaround. Hey, let's do that again. Let's bring back in. We're going to ask the big question. Can we hear the big question, Jason?
Oh, yeah. You said more hot topic, so
I did it again. I did it again.
You want to switch it up. We're really pulling the curtain back here. Here we go.
All right, the big question here on Friday's show, what are American supporters groups talking about heading into the 2025 season? Last weekend, the Independent Supporters Council convened for their annual convention in the Twin Cities. And to hear more from the conference and the topics brought to the group, we are happy to be joined by Justin Freeberg, president of Sons of Ben, the renowned supporters group for Philadelphia Union. You lost your voice. You couldn't join us Monday, but you're here on Friday. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Morning Kickaround.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Justin, I'm glad we got you on after I said, hey, Monday. He's like, I can't talk. He didn't say it like that because it was typed, but yeah.
Well, I sent Jason a voice chat, and basically there was no voice, so it would have been poor audio quality.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that you got your voice back and that you're joining us, and I'm glad you're giving us a little bit of an insight into what's going on, because look, there are lots of things kind of that supporters are dealing with right now when it comes to Major League Soccer, when it comes to the game in the United States. I imagine that ISC was an opportunity to talk about a lot of those things. What do you think the overarching theme was at ISC and for you as a newly elected president of a major supporters group?
I mean, first off, this was my first ISC conference, so it was a pleasure to get to gather with various board members from not just across MLS, but USL, MLS Next Pro, and WSL, NPSL, and so forth. And it was really a great exchange of ideas, just to say, because as president of the Sons of Ben, compared to a lot of supporters groups, we are one of the larger supporters groups. And so, it's always good to see how, new and upcoming supporters groups, and also groups that may have different, interactions with front office and with, security. One of the big talking points really was trying to standardize security practices across the league. Because, while one stadium might be able to bring in, smoke, when it comes to away matches, teams, there's not always that reciprocity between, hey, we got this at your stadium, why don't we get this when we come to to yours, and vice versa. And so really, it was a nice way to be able to just take a few days and say, hey, you know we're all in this for the sport. What do we want to get out of this, and what do we want as an ability to grow the game that we all clearly love? I mean, we are all volunteers here, and it's something where I love the sport. I've been around it since I was 5 years old. I've been playing it at this point almost every day. And I saw at ISC something which made me reinvigorate my love for the game, which is supporters just trying to enjoy the game and in whatever level they can.
So, through your conversations about security and trying to get it kind of uniform across the way, what are some of the issues? Like, has there been like serious issues, or are you just like looking for consistency, or like what is the ideal outcome for those topics?
It's more the consistency aspect, because obviously, when you have, I mean, we have, how many NFL stadiums that are hosting MLS clubs. You have, so when it comes to, securities that are used to NFL crowds, the soccer crowd is something that if you're not used to it, you don't know exactly how to, you know, police it per se. And so really this was just kind of us communicating what practices across the league do we want, and really it's about, ticket allotments, because if you get, 200 from one team, when they come to you, the expectation would be that they get the same allotment. And so really it's just trying to get that standardization, because whenever you're traveling, there can always be miscommunication, and that's where frustrations grow. And that's kind of what ISC's role is in all of this, is to help be a collective voice for the supporters, so that when they can go to the league and say, hey, here's what we've been told by our members, what is the league doing about this to standardize this practice across the league.
Okay, I mean, obviously those are it's I guess interesting that we're still kind of dealing with this, Justin. And I know, again, as you are, since you are new to your job and this was your first opportunity to go and talk to all these people, I guess the relationship that supporters groups have with Major League Soccer, and where that is now after years of sort of, well, we don't really want you here, and then, oh, we do, but you can't do certain things, but if you do those certain things, we're going to use those certain things to sell the league with visuals. Where do you think that general relationship is right now?
It's tough to say, given that with the 2025 Club World Cup, and obviously the FIFA Men's World Cup next year, which we're talking points at ISC. Um, we obviously know that fans are a commodity to not just the league but FIFA in general, and so we're trying to understand, if it's basically, if the league wants to play ball, we're willing to listen out. But if they're going to say, you know penalize LAFC for for the flares and the smoke, which was dangerous and was addressed, but then use that for marketing, like, to us that is okay. So we're getting punished for it, but then you can use us to sell different aspects of the league, and how it's, the fans are hungry, and it's, which is true, we are hungry, we are passionate, but don't punish us for something and then use that in your promotional pieces to grow the game, which we talked about, with the way that the US Cup, Open Cup, and the league format change, the League's Cup change. um, they did a pretty good job of trying to squash the Open Cup this past year, and it's clear that from us, I myself have the Save the Open Cup scarf. I remember the days of going to a game at Subaru Park with maybe 3,000 people watching the four-string goalkeeper for the Richmond Kickers go up and have to literally scream at the goalie. I had to Google who you were because no one, he was barely on the roster. um, that's something that the fans like. I love soccer at any level. I always make it an effort to go out to USL games if I can. I've even gone down to see, the Atlantic City Aces play the Maryland Bobcats down at Rowan University, right down the road. So it is like I know how much I love the sport, and I think the league knows how much fans like myself love the sport. It's when we start to feel taken advantage of, which we're on that precipice where the league is growing. The expansion fees now are climbing into the 300 to 400 million, where when the union came in, it was a measly $30 million. So the league has grown. So we can't cry poor anymore, especially with a second year of a very large Apple TV deal, and with the league moving their studios to the former WWE studios, it kind of spells okay, they're in it for the long haul. Well, so are we. So it's what value can we both get out of it without being completely taken advantage of, like that we have in prior years.
It sounds like there was conversations that are kind of like long-standing with the security and the standards and like the rules the Major League Soccer imparts on them, but it's hypocritical, but with using the displays of them. But what does in other subjects, like you have mentioned that there's the big tournaments coming with the Club World Cup in 25 and the World Cup in 26. Was there any calls to action or anything like that? Was it purely a discussion, or was there a plan put in place to try to ensure what the supporters want for these big tournaments coming up?
So everyone arrived in Minneapolis on Thursday, and we had a lovely kickoff event at the Black Heart, which shout out to Wes. He's a great guy. He's a great bar. I highly recommend, if you are in Minneapolis, to check them out, because it's a fun environment. It's a safe environment where people can go to watch soccer and also just have a good time. But Friday, the first panel at 9 o'clock was actually a discussion about the 2026 Men's World Cup and how its impact on the community. It was moderated by a lawyer from DC, and there were individuals. There was a gentleman from the NAACP. There was a FIFA, she calls herself a FIFA fighter, who is challenged FIFA on a number of things. There was a woman who is a member of a human rights organization in Toronto, and there were a few others. And really, it was discussing, that they understand that we are, a commodity. We are the driving force for the game, and it was really about how do we hold FIFA accountable for the lack of the blatant human rights abuses. As we talked about, the 2034 World Cup was being awarded to Saudi Arabia. We saw the clear sports washing that occurred with Qatar and the overlooking of the migrant workers' deaths. And so that's something in going back even to Russia, going back to the what happened, building stadiums in Brazil. So there's a track record with FIFA where they come in, they're not held accountable, and they take the resources, and then they claim that they generated all this money and that they're bringing FIFA soccer around the world, and they've estimated that for the 2026 World Cup they're bringing in about, I believe it was $14 billion in revenue, and the expenses are not nearly as high because, as FIFA has sent out the email for the Club World Cup, they rely a lot on volunteers. And so we talked about trying to, hold FIFA accountable, but also making the host cities a safe space for people traveling from overseas to support their country, because say in Philadelphia, we could have Scotland versus Nigeria. If Nigerians coming in, what guarantees do we have that they're going to have a safe space to watch the game?
Mhm.
And that they'll have, so we've talked about what resources we can look at to try to guarantee these fan embassies, which were at the UEFA 24 last year, and they discussed how those looked and how we can look at that for next year. So really, it was just about the human rights element of how this impacts their community, and how this is a global game. This is a a sport where it is one of the easiest sports to play, because you can put a ball anywhere and kick around. And so it was, how do we make everyone feel safe and welcome, and also hold FIFA's feet to the fire when it comes to dealing with the stuff that they generally like to gloss over.
All right, Justin. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Again, I think this is a fascinating moment to be the president of a supporters group, to deal with all this stuff that's coming, not just on a soccer front. I mean, you're kind of tying into things that are happening with our society at the moment, and I don't know that we want to get too heavy with it, but we do appreciate it. And first of all, congratulations. I don't know if I actually said congratulations on your election, and that was a big deal. Shout out to all the Best Soccer Show family that are in the Slack, and Justin is very active over there. Somebody over there has said, why weren't you wearing a jersey on the show today, Justin? You are a jersey aficionado. What's up with that?
I am, taking a little break from work. This is work from home attire, but
Okay.
I do appreciate being called out for my usual get up.
All right, we appreciate it. I think we should let Justin get back to his day, Rob.
Yeah, thank you, Justin. Pleasure to meet you, and best of luck in your first season as the president of Sons of Ben. Thank you, viewers, for tuning in. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, please do so. We are well past 500, on our way to 1,000 subscribers at the Morning Kick Around YouTube channel, so be sure to click that button. Contact us online. Follow along on social media at @mkickaround on X, Instagram, and the Blue Sky, or write us a note at morningkickaround@gmail.com, or support us. Ko-Fi, brand new Ko-Fi page. Give us a donation. Support the show. Ko-Fi.com/morningkickaround.
Buy us a coffee. Is that what we say? Buy us a coffee.
I like to have a nice warm cup of Ko-Fi in the morning. All right, coming right back with today's hot topic here on Morning Kick Around.
Oh, now it's hot topic.
Here on Friday, it is the hottest topic of the day, the Ballad of Ricardo Pepi. He looked fantastic. He looks like he's working his way into a regular starting job at PSV, leading the league in Holland. And there was rumor, I felt validated, West Ham actually did come in with an offer, it says, for the American striker, only on the back of a great midweek performance in Champions League, to be felled by injury. It looks like he's going to be out for a significant period of time. Where does that leave Pepi and the American forward pool, after it was kind of looking like Pepi was making a pretty hard case to be the number one?
Yeah, so let's take this individually. It's sort of, I guess, chronologically, sequentially, right? So, and this is the way I saw it. Maybe this isn't the actual way that things happen in real time, but Ricardo Pepi, on Tuesday, Peter Bosz announces that Pepi's going to start against Liverpool. And as a fan of Ricardo Pepi, I've been on the Pepi train from the beginning. From the beginning, yeah, choo-choo, Ricardo Pepi. That was thrilling. As a U.S. men's national team fan, that was thrilling. As somebody who thinks Ricardo Pepi is ready to take the next step in his career, that was thrilling. I don't know that it was conceived as such, but it certainly could have been, let's put Ricardo Pepi in the shop window against Liverpool. And, I think they had reason to believe, and I don't know when they got their information either, but they had reason to believe that Arne Slot was going to rotate with Liverpool already through and guaranteed of a top 2 spot in the league phase of the Champions League. What did Liverpool have to gain by sending their best team to Holland? Nothing. So they didn't. They didn't send Salah, and they didn't send Van Dijk, and they didn't send anybody. Luis Diaz stays home. Gravenberch stays home. So we knew we were going to get a rotated Liverpool team, but who cares? It's the Champions League. Ricardo Pepi's going to start in the Champions League against Liverpool. And then he has a very good day. I think, we are still debating whether he touched the ball on the goal that he was credited with.
Did
Regardless,
he touch it?
The run makes the goal. Without the run, there is no goal. So you can say it still belongs to him on some level. But I think for a lot of us, what was more impressive was the assist that he provided, chesting the ball down for a teammate who then goes on to score. That was like the hold-up play thing that Pepi needs to bring to the table in addition to his goal scoring. That's what you like to see. More of a well-rounded forward since he's arrived at PSV Eindhoven. So, in the aftermath of that fine performance, word out, West Ham United has made a bid for Ricardo Pepi, something like 25 million euros, which I think is roughly around 21 million pounds. I don't know the exchange rate at the moment, but something in that neighborhood. It may have been a loan with an obligation to buy at that price in the summer. I think that was the mechanism. PSV Eindhoven reportedly said, no, thank you. That's not good enough. He's worth more than that, which may have been a negotiating ploy. Could have been. We still had some time left in the window, right? Today is the final day of the month, but there was a couple days going back to Wednesday. And then the word out through Doug McIntyre at Fox Sports that Ricardo Pepi suffered a knee injury in the game against Liverpool. He had come off. Now, this is where it gets like, what is going on? The prognosis was 1 to 3 months. Doesn't that feel like a big range? Like 1 month, okay. 3 months? That's a lot more. That's a lot more. That's a strange range for an injury, right, Rob?
Yeah, ESPN reporting 1 to 3 months. That's, I think, coming down to they don't quite know what the problem is yet. It's just injury, maybe big injury, maybe little injury, kind of hedge our bets, but definitely going to miss out on the next round of Champions League if he is still on PSV come 2 weeks from now. I'm looking at the internet that I don't see any new news coming in that there's been another offer or any deal has been done. But just to kind of highlight what Pepi's been doing, I mean, in 28 appearances for PSV Eindhoven, the league leaders in Holland, 28 appearances, 17 goals, and 3 assists. The Americans have needed an out-and-out number 9, and those are pretty solid numbers.
Yeah, so there is obviously the problem of his playing time at PSV Eindhoven not being enough to send you into a place of pure confidence over his role with the U.S. men's national team. I still would have him number 1 on my depth chart. I still would. I think a lot of people would.
Yeah, there's a game tomorrow he's in, right?
Yes, I think everybody would say that Ricardo Pepi is the best American center forward at the moment, regardless of his playing time at PSV Eindhoven. And if you were playing a meaningful match for the U.S. men's national team tomorrow, and they do have one they have games in March, then he would be the starter. Now, that's also partly because Folarin Balogun is hurt. Daryl Dike is still coming back from his injury. Josh Sargent just came back from his injury and scored some goals, but people are still not completely convinced he's the right guy.
It's nearing a decade since he's scored for the American national team.
It's a problem that he doesn't score goals when he puts on an American shirt. That is absolutely 100% a fact. Then you are kind of going into the more like, oh, this is really risky. We're not really sure. And the 2 names I can add to this, Brennan Vasquez, and I'm not convinced. I think he's limited. He made the move to Austin. We'll see if he scores goals in MLS. He was okay in Monterrey, but not good enough to make people really believe he was the guy or that he deserved a ton of looks. And then you have Patrick Agyemang, who had a nice showing in the January camp for the U.S. men's national team, but remains raw is not the right word because he is 24 years old. But
unknown quantity.
At the international level, absolutely. At the high level international soccer, absolutely. I think he's talented, and it may be a big year in Charlotte this season. We'll get him a move, and we'll be talking about him differently going into 2026. I don't know. The timing doesn't really work out for Patrick. right? He's kind of showing up a little bit too late in the window to really make a case that he should be a starter for the U.S. men's national team. And I just think the sample size is way too small. But that's where we're at, right, Rob? Like, if you're Mauricio Pochettino, you're looking at your list and you're like, oh, none of these are good options. Like, no, now that Pepi is hurt, none of these are good options.
No, I mean, so with all the injuries and all the situations now, like if there was a game truly tomorrow, who would be the guy? Would it be Sargent fresh off an injury and like one good performance, Ajamain coming out of nowhere? Like if, gun to your head, to be dramatic, gun to your head, who's your number 9 tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's probably Sargent, but I don't love it. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't know, Rob. Again, he's been injured. He hasn't gotten any playing time under Pochettino, right? We're still in that phase. Like, it feels like we hired Pochettino a year ago, but we're still in that phase. It wasn't a year ago, but we're still in that phase where so many of these guys haven't even really played any minutes under Mauricio Pochettino. And even if some of them who did in the very beginning, that was the very beginning. And things have maybe evolved a bit in the way that Pochettino wants his team to play. And so all we can do is sort of hang on to what little bit of information we have, and that includes a January camp with a bunch of MLS guys. And it's like, Diego Luna should be in the team, and Patrick Ajamain should be in the team. Really? You're making that case based on games against Venezuela and Costa Rica? I don't know.
And not their A teams either. That was what BC team for Venezuela and Costa Rica as well. I mean, it was the guys that were, okay, I'll go, right?
Yes. That's the other part of it, right? Like I want to believe, I clearly want to believe, but I think if you're being reasonable about taking in this information, you can't look at what we know and say, I'm sure about who should play center forward for the United States right now.
I like Nate coming in with a timely comment. No problem. Weston can do it. Put Weston McKennie, put him up front. I mean, why not? He has done just about every single other position that he can. He can be captain from the front.
I do think while he might not have an understanding of the right movement for a center forward, I do think Weston McKennie could be very good with hold-up play. So if you just want somebody to bring midfielders in and take the ball down and maybe be a focal point, yeah, let's go. Let's get Weston in there. Back to goal stuff from Weston McKennie. Yeah,
you can really paint the picture. I could see him getting the ball at the top of the 18, feed a nice little pass to, Pulisic running past him for a goal. I could see that happening. I mean, he's great at those late entry runs into the box. He scored some goals, so why not?
Well, there's also the. I mean, I don't know that this is in Pochettino's head, but who maybe that isn't a natural center forward could be a false 9. Maybe there's something. I don't like it really as a first option, but I don't think we want to run Pulisic out there as a false 9. Man, it's difficult. It's difficult, Rob. It's not great right now. It's not.
While I think your hesitancy to get too excited about Ajamain is valid, you definitely don't want to get out over our skis here, but it is exciting that there is an emerging or a possibly emerging American talent. Definitely, I have more interest in watching Charlotte games in 2025. I mean, Wilfried Zaha could be exciting if that works out right, but having an American striker, possibly, rise in Major League Soccer is an exciting thing to think about, and we shall see what happens. Only a month to go, less than a month to go till MLS season 2025. Are you ready for that, Jason?
No. Yes. Maybe. I don't know. Possible. Yeah. Sure. Let's. I mean, this is a process, right? to be an American soccer fan and trying to everything that comes at you as you go through your year. I will throw this one in. Again, Nate is giving us more suggestions. Timothy Weah has played as a center forward before. It's been a while, and no manager in his club game the club side has ever been like, hey, you should play. I mean, maybe a little bit at Lille. Or no, he has maybe played there once or twice for Thiago Motta. He maybe has, but it's not a regular occurrence. So I wonder if Pochettino would consider that.
Yeah, I feel like that's how we were introduced to Timothy Weah when he first came on. onto the scene, but yeah, definitely hasn't made number 9 position his mainstay. Thank you for everyone for tuning in to today's episode of Morning Kickground. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, please do so now and tell your family and friends to do so as well. Word of mouth is the biggest way to accelerate the growth of this.
Can I give a suggestion? Like, this is what you do. So, lots of people watch YouTube at home on their televisions, right? Like, everybody's got a phone, and maybe you have YouTube on your phone, and that's why you're watching. But some people watch on their television.
I think everyone who watches this show watches it on their phone. I have a suspicion. Maybe.
No, we actually have some data on that. They give us data on that. We can see what the percentage is. There's a decent amount of people who watch on television. If you watch it on or even if you don't, if you watch it on the phone, go to your TV, pull up your YouTube app, and just for every profile that is attached to your YouTube app on your television, like the show, subscribe to the show. That's what you need to do. Yeah. Like, oh, the 4-year-old watches, I don't know. Like, my 4-year-old's into some Hot Wheels show now recently. That's what he likes, fast things. So, when, or Paw Patrol or whatever's on YouTube that you might watch, you might pull up, kids being spoiled by their parents and making weird videos, which is weird. I don't know about that one. But if your kid watches YouTube, just go subscribe to our show. They might be like, why is there a soccer show next to Paw Patrol? But it will be good for us, and we would appreciate it.
2 huge questions to wrap up the show. What is the one game you are really looking forward to watching this weekend, and what is Tiago's favorite Paw Patrol character?
Okay, so the first question, man, I got to think about this weekend. We have City Arsenal this weekend, do we not? We also have a Milan derby this weekend, do we not? Yeah, we have not really looked forward to the club schedule, mostly via fixture list, because we've been focused on Champions League. But yeah, there's some big games coming up. That Milan derby, interesting. Obviously, you've got Yunus Musa available despite the red card, because it's the league and not the Champions League. We'll see about Christian Pulisic. I would love to see Christian Pulisic score in a Milan derby. That would be fantastic.
That'd be quite the highlight for him. I would say out of this weekend's slate, for 2 reasons, for the American interest and for my own supporters' interest, Liverpool versus Bournemouth tomorrow morning will be one that I really want to take in.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
League leaders versus the most informed team in the league, Liverpool, Bournemouth.
Let's go, Tyler. Let's go, Tyler. Let's wreck Liverpool tomorrow. That's what we want here on the Morning Kick Around. As a unit, we want that to happen. Together, we want that, right?
Yeah, I hope he has a very solid outing in a defeat. How about that?
All right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. So you didn't give me the favorite Paw Patrol character, Marshall? Maybe.
I think it's Marshall. It's Marshall, but he's also moved away. He still has some Paw Patrol connections, but he's moved away. He's matured a bit, believe it or not, from Paw Patrol. So it's not as much as you might think. A lot of Blippy happening. He's learning things from Blippy these days in Spanish. It's a lot. There's a lot going on.
All right, Marshall, Mahm, and Blippy for the win here. So everybody, enjoy your weekend. We should be back on Monday. And until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.
Bye, everybody.